You're listening to Bedroom Beethovens, where notable music makers break down stories accompanied by songs and melodies documenting growth through their 10,000-hour journey. And me? Well, my name is Cello, your host.
I am a bedroom Beethoven.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 128 of the podcast. My guest this week is...
My name is Rozzi. I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I've collaborated with Kendrick Lamar and Pusha T and Alan Stone, Jacob Collier, Maroon 5. So many dream people. I've had a lot of good luck.
I'm used to bad guys being bad together ain't sad forever if it means butterflies. Butterflies. Too used to red lights, speeding through them fast. Tell myself the crash is justified. 'Cause real love must be high. Hard to believe in the feeling that comes too easy, but it might be what we are.
LA's neo-soul artist Rozzi has announced her new Hymn for Tomorrow EP due out this week, and her smoky, full-bodied vocals spectacularly amplify each song as they move seamlessly from upbeat pop, funk, and R&B to low-key acoustic ballads. And we talk about her 10,000 hours from, well, I might have beaten a dead horse in the interview, but she got signed to Adam Levine's label, and we talk about the ins and outs of being signed at such a young age and the ebbs and flows that come with that. But what really matters is how I catch up with her now, and all of her wisdom, beauty, preparation, and knowledge to approach her music with as much authenticity as can be expected from someone who has learned a lot, experienced a lot, and wants to stay true to that. But before we dive into the conversation though, really quick, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, I want to let you know it's available wherever podcasts can be streamed, and it would help me a lot if you left a review or subscribe to the YouTube or just listen to other episodes. The website is bedroombeethovens.com, and if you want to support the show, keep it ad-free, there is a Patreon set up at patreon.com/bedroombeethovens, and for a few bucks, you get a few perks as a thank you. Early episodes is a big one. So as we come out from the other side of the pandemic, that's what it's looking like. I'm very happy to see tour dates back up, venues opening, and best of all, new music. Also, I said Jewel was a one-hit wonder. I'm dumb. Her debut album sold 12 million copies, had a bunch of hits. Again, I'm dumb. And Rozzi is simply the best. I enjoyed our chat, and I hope you do too. Peace and blessings. Now, before we went on air, we talked that we both have podcasts, and I think our podcasts have similar themes. I focus more on musicians, but you've had everyone on from like Jonathan Van Ness to Nile Rodgers to Michelle Kwan. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm building kind of the YouTube page for the podcast, and like Scott, your co-host, first off, we're going to talk all about your amazing success, but him as of like the last year, his group has over 4.4 billion views. They also have 2 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
3.6 million on Facebook.
Nuts.
You released an episode with Jonathan Van Ness, who has 5 million followers.
Yeah.
And the YouTube video has like 80 views.
Yeah.
And I feel that.
I know. It's really crazy. I mean, it's just like so hard I think the world is just like, as I'm sure you really know, it's just like filled with noise. So it's very hard to get heard. But I'm so lucky to work with Scott, because he's just like, other than being wildly successful, he's just such a good person. And if anybody who doesn't know Scott Hoying from Pentatonics, like, he's so talented, so funny, so smart, such a good friend. We just have such a good time. So do you do this all alone? Don't you miss having a friend to do it with?
I mean, I guess it worked out because I started it right kind of, pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
But it's disheartening when you know that as much work as you put into the podcast, it'll never be as popular as Logan Paul buying a rare Pokemon card. And I've accepted that.
So infuriating.
But prior to this interview, I did a little research and I fell down a rabbit hole. And because of you, I found my new favorite band, Bear Attack.
Oh my God. Wait, that is so crazy. I have to tell my friends. That's incredible. How did you find them from going? That feels like such like another lifetime ago. That's amazing.
Sadly, I'm not seeing any new music from them. So are they still active?
No, actually, I think that they broke up like maybe a few years ago now, but they're all such talented musicians, old friends of mine from USC. I love that you found them. They are so good. That record they put out is amazing.
Yeah, tell them to get back together right now.
I will.
And I feel like the pandemic was actually good to you. You wrote Best Friend, your brother had a baby, you fell in love, you're releasing music like more consistently than ever before. And I mean, who knew that being trapped in the house could make your career and family life improve? But I guess it's all how you look at it.
It's true. I feel very lucky. Like obviously the pandemic has been brutal for everybody in different ways, but I feel kind of like overwhelmed with, I'm aware of the luck that I've had with my specific experience. It's true. My brother had a baby. She's so cute. She's 10 months old. Her name is Penny, and she loves music. And that's been like the first baby that I've ever known. I've never really like known babies before. So, that's been like probably the highlight of the whole experience for me.
And you revisited piano during quarantine, which is awesome because when you were little, you said you had tiny hands and it was hard. So now I'm assuming your hands are normal size or maybe even larger than normal, but let's say normal size.
No, I would say they're still on the smaller side. And it's a bummer sometimes with piano, but I did have like a really hard time as a kid. I never liked it. And then I really never liked it. I could play it, like I was capable, but I never enjoyed it until COVID because I was forced to play it so much. I finally got decent enough that I like it now, that's another huge silver lining.
The last thing I touched on was you fell in love. I got to talk about that because I saw the guy and I was like, I know that guy. Where do I know him from? And then I was like, oh, Hereditary. He decapitated his sister and then went home and tried to play it off. I know that guy.
You know what's so funny? I didn't see that movie until like January. We've been together for like a year and a half, more than that. And I had never seen it because I really don't like scary movies. Like I just don't like being that scared. I'm like, this is a miserable experience. So I hadn't seen it. And there just came a point where it was awkward because people would say that to me all the time. And I'd be like, oh, I haven't seen it. And they're like, that's fucked up. That's your boyfriend.
Well, what's crazy is when people say, I don't like scary movies, I rarely find movies that are actually scary. And I would have to put Hereditary on the short list of films that are actually truly scary. So
it's true. It's true. It's so scary. But I think one thing that's like, I actually love the movie and I was surprised at how much I loved it. Like I wasn't surprised that it was amazing because I'd obviously heard that it was amazing. And I wasn't surprised that Alex Wolf, my boyfriend, was amazing because I know he's amazing. But I was surprised that I enjoyed it so much. And I think it was terrifying, but it was like very artful and thoughtful in its scariness. Like it didn't feel cheap in its scariness to me. It felt like there was a purpose to the horrifying qualities of it, so it didn't really bother me the way that some scary, like The Ring has haunted me since I was a kid because I look like her when I go in a pool. My hair is dark. I look like her and it's so scary. But this one I actually think about all the time and it's just like so beautifully done that I love it.
Well, here's the real test. You have Alex, anyone from the German soccer team, or Heath Ledger. You have your pick, and if Alex wins, then what you guys have is real.
Oh my God, I choose Alex. I have to say, that's a good question. You're right. I get it. Ever since I was a kid, I feel like I've never been that into sports, but I would love to watch soccer just because the boys are so cute. But Alex wins. So there you go.
There you go. Now, I want you to stay in love. I want you to have the best romance ever recorded in human history. But do not discount heartbreak for a singer, because the reason why Lauryn Hill's lyrics and singing was so effective was because behind the scenes her heart was broken, and if everything was roses, it might not have been the classic it's regarded as.
It's true. I mean, my last album, absolutely, I used heartbreak to fuel it, and you're right. It is kind of like the source of of art.
I don't wanna love you, but I do. One more night we can undo. You losing me or am I losing you? I'm so over this.
What I will say in my experience so far writing about Alex, it's not just because you're in love and happy doesn't mean there's not complication, there's not challenge, there's not like nuance. I'm not that stressed about that. I think that will always be something for me to write about.
Let's just agree right now we're not gonna break up. 'Cause I can't speak if I think you're gonna walk away. There's nobody else out there that's gonna come save us. Could you just shut up and hear what I'm trying to say?
I feel like I always loved X Factor. Like the Lauryn Hill song was my favorite song always. My like number one favorite song of all time. Always loved it. But when I got my heart broken for real, I was like, oh, like that's what she means. It hit me on a whole other level. And I see how useful that like heartbreak experience was for her. And then for me as an artist, it is like a very powerful tool.
And it's hard because like when you're 19 years old, you know, you haven't experienced life, heartbreak, love, and they tell
Yeah.
you, go be an artist now.
Exactly.
And you can believe in yourself, but you may lack confidence. And, everyone at 30 years old is going to look back at themselves at 19 and be like, I was a baby.
We're expected, like, we value youth so much as a culture, but particularly in like the entertainment industry. And I think it's kind of silly. I mean, I get it, obviously. Like there's like Olivia Rodrigo. I love that album. There's a certain vibe that you cannot capture after a certain age. I totally get that. But I am such a better artist now than I was at 19 because I know I'm a richer person. I have so much more empathy. I have so many more experiences under my belt. I have so much more to say. I think I'm just like a more interesting person and therefore I'm a more interesting artist. And so I actually think we do ourselves a disservice by not really valuing the artists who have been hustling and working for a long time and where things didn't happen too quickly, because that's like the good stuff. Like that's like where I think we really get the most expression of the human experience, after people have had like some experience, because I didn't know who I was at 19. I had no idea who I was. I thought I did, but I was wrong.
So from USC to getting signed, is that still, in your opinion, a golden ticket? It's almost like getting drafted to the NBA out of high school. Or do you think you should have waited until you were like more seasoned and mature?
Listen, I wouldn't change anything because the experience that fell into my lap was just like too unbelievable. It was a once in a lifetime magical moment that maybe something similar would have happened later. I really don't know. Like that's, I don't know, but it's hard to imagine rejecting that. Adam Levine sending you an email when you're a teenager and being like, I'll invent a label to sign if you'll be on it is just kind of hard. I wouldn't tell anybody to turn that down. It was a little bit too unbelievable.
But because of that decision, you left before graduating and you were really close. So how angry was your professor father?
He actually was very supportive. He is a professor. I love this research you've done. Amazing. He is a professor, but I knew what I wanted to be since I was 6 years old, and I was so adamant about it. And he had spent enough time trying to convince me to do something regular that he knew there was no convincing me. And so when I was finally given this opportunity to do what I've always dreamed and do it in a really legitimate, real way, I think he was very excited for me and understood that it was worth it and that the education I'd be getting on the road was probably better than like the music degree I was getting anyway.
I should point out your father is not just like a middle school science teacher. He's a policy professor. He's in the top 10% of professors. Yes. So it's kind of a big deal in academia.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for saying that. It's true. He's a professor at Stanford. So he's very smart. It's very intimidating.
So when you have kids and your kid is a mini version of you and they say they want to pursue music, will you share the same sentiments of your dad and kind of deter them to have something more secure? Or, hey, let's get on that rocket ship. If you dream it, I'll help you achieve it. Let's do it.
I will say selfishly, or not even selfishly, like it would be nice to have a kid who didn't want to be an artist because it's so heartbreaking. And I think it's probably harder to watch your kid do it than do it yourself. Because for me, this is who I am. There is no other version of me. This is me. And so no matter the ups and downs, the letdowns, the disappointments, as hard as that is, it's okay, because at the end of the day, I'm being myself. I'm doing what I was, made to do, and I get to sing. I get to do that thing that I love so much. I think it's harder for my dad to watch that, frankly. So as a parent, I understand. I would kind of hope my kid wanted to be like a doctor or something, and they just go, that's really hard too, and incredibly worthwhile. And I'm sure very I'm sure you get a lot back from it, but it's not as tricky in a way as like trying to be an entertainer. It's just so impossible to navigate that. But if my kid really wanted to do it, I think I would recognize it, and I would know that it didn't matter what I said. So I would just make sure that they knew how to work hard, and they knew that they had to take full responsibility for themselves in that way. And I'd also encourage them to really be creative. If you're going to be an artist every day.
Yeah, because I was kind of looking at, I guess, some of the beginning politics when you first got signed, like your strength. You even introduced yourself at the beginning of this podcast as a singer-songwriter, and you land on the Hunger Games soundtrack. And I saw that the writing credit wasn't you; it was Glenn James Hansard. So imagine if you won a Grammy for that song, you wouldn't even have got a Grammy for what you got signed to do. It would have been kind of bittersweet.
I wasn't treated like a writer for a really long time, and I, to be fair, I don't think I treated myself like the writer that I am. It took me a long time to really trust myself. I don't know if that's just being young, if that's being a woman, I don't know, but it took me a long time to convince other people and myself that I really knew what I was doing as a writer and as the creator of my music. So that was really hard when I was signed to Adam. They wanted me to sing all sorts of stuff that I didn't write, that I sometimes didn't even like. It's kind of an age-old story, you get signed and then they try and kind of morph you into something that you're not. And it took me a very long time to be able to say, not only to say, I'm not this, but also to say, this is who I am. Because you kind of need to be able to follow it up with that. If you're going to say no to something, you need to be able to say what it is instead. And it took me a long time to get there.
Is that a new artist thing, or is that a woman thing? Because sometimes women get stunted because they're working with people who want to direct their creative path rather than share and help develop the artist's vision. And I wonder how many don't get a chance at success as a result.
I think it's probably both. I can take responsibility for being new, which is not my fault. Being new is required for everybody at some point. But I definitely was green, and I didn't, like I said, my dad's a professor. Nobody in my family was a professional artist ever. I was the first one to do that. So I think it was kind of, I didn't even have a lot of like Alex, my boyfriend, his parents are both artists. And I think in a lot of ways, that's kind of an amazing advantage. You get to kind of learn how this works. I didn't have that. So to be fair to the men who signed to me and I was working with, I didn't come in with a lot of information on my own, but I do think there's no way to deny that being a young girl in a room there's a certain dynamic that exists in society that's very hard to escape from. My manager was a grown man, much more successful than me. And technically he's supposed to work for me, but it's very hard to maintain that dynamic when you're this like teenage girl walking in the room. It's very hard for them to take you seriously that way. And it took me a long time to develop the kind of authority and confidence to really demand that, because it's really easy to give that away, because it's kind of natural, I think, for an older man to claim it when you're a young girl.
Yeah, I love the journey on how you found yourself, especially when you point stuff out like that. And literally in a couple months, my daughter is entering the first grade, and that's significant. Because that's the grade you knew you wanted to be a performer, which kind of gives me hope that my astronaut, cowboy, artist, unicorn, policeman daughter might figure out what she wants to be, as it did you. So I'm hopeful.
That's so cute. What's her name?
It's funny. It's really, really funny because me and my wife this morning were talking about baby names, and she actually said if we had another baby, she was considering Penelope, and even said we would call her Penny. But her...
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
It's very crazy. But we ended up naming her Ophelia. We do gravitate towards those oldie time names. Yeah.
Wow. First grade is I remember first grade so well. I think it's when I learned how to read, which is huge. And that is the first time I performed for an audience. And that's when I knew I wanted to be a singer. And So you don't know your girl. Maybe this year she'll come. She'll tell you it's for sure NASA. She's going to be an astronaut. That's what she's landed on.
Well, tell me about the song "I'm Sensitive" by Jewel and why that's so
Oh my God,
important.
your research is amazing. You are better at researching than I am for my podcast. I'm very impressed.
I was thinking that I might fly today.
Okay, yeah, Jewel has this song called I'm Sensitive. It's a deep cut. It's from her first album, and I was a huge Jewel fan as a kid. I saw my second cousin sing the same song. I copied her. My second cousin is this beautiful girl. Her name's Felicia. She's older than me. When I was 5, she was just like the coolest person I'd ever met in my life. She's still very cool. And I really look up to her. And I heard her sing that summer on like a family reunion, and I decided to copy her and sing the exact same song at my school talent show. And I will never forget the feeling. It's like the most clarity I've ever had. I've never felt that sure of anything ever again. I sat down on the bleachers and I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. No doubt. And I've never questioned it since. Jewel is underrated. Jewel is really underrated. I know she's massively successful, so she's definitely, people know about her, but her voice is incredible. She followed me on Instagram a couple years ago, which was like the biggest full circle dream come true moment for me because she was like my hero. And so she was the only live stream show during COVID that I bought a ticket to and watched online, and she killed it. She's so good and she's funny. I love her. I'm a huge fan still.
It's crazy. I always thought she was a one-hit wonder for the Save Your Soul song, but it seems like I'm dead wrong on that.
You're wrong. She's got she's a really amazing singer-songwriter. You would recognize some of her other songs too.
I need
She's
to
bigger
revisit.
than everyone thinks.
Yeah, I need to revisit her discography.
She's really good. She can yodel. It's crazy. Her story's crazy too. She was like full homeless, living in her car, and then, became Jewel. So she's got a really cool story too.
I think she's beautiful, and she never fixed her teeth, which I love even more.
Love. Yeah,
love
me
it.
too. Me too.
Well, I know a lot of songs on the new album are intentional, maybe personal, and a body of work that you're proud of. But why not stay attached to Adam Levine so you could continue to get the Kendrick Lamars and the Pusha T's? Like, if you want mainstream success and radio play and all that, I imagine that's the fastest track to make that happen. So I wanted to ask in 2016, what brought upon that decision to part ways, or even maybe it wasn't even up to you?
It wasn't up to me. They dropped me. But to be fair, it was the right thing for me. I think, yes, there was a fast-tracked element to it that was very fairy tale-like, and opened a lot of doors for me. And to be totally honest with you, sometimes that aspect of it haunts me a little bit because I am aware of how much easier it is to get stuff when you have a name like that than it is without it. And I've really learned that the hard way. So yes. So, but even if they hadn't dropped me, the problem is running a label is a really challenging thing to do. It's a full job. It requires a certain mind and talent, and it also requires a certain amount of time that I'm not really sure they were really able to give me then. And also, I was signed as a singer, I think Adam heard my voice and really gravitated towards it, which I will forever feel honored by and flattered by. But there was like a real artist in me that needed development, and I hadn't received that. And I really, really needed it. I really needed somebody. Like I said, I didn't have artist parents. I didn't really grow up around people who made art as a living. And I didn't really know how to bring that out of me. And I really needed a different mentor and a different person to work with. And so this manager that I worked with for a long time, his name's Ben Singer, is really good at that, really good at helping bring the songwriter out of me and the artist out of me. And I will forever be grateful to that. I mean, these people are all seasons. That's the thing about anything in life. That's the thing. It's like kind of like dating. These people sometimes are seasons, and just because they are not forever doesn't mean they weren't beautiful and very necessary on my journey. And and at the end of the day, it's kind of like, yes, those collaborations were dream collaborations and those tours were dream tours, but they're kind of like sugar highs because I didn't really earn them, is how I feel. I deserve to be there in a way that I could sing in a way that I felt comfortable in those settings, but I hadn't become the artist that I am now. And that's like a meal, like that's like a filling meal. And I would rather feel proud of my work and feel like the driver of my ship than I would to be able to tell somebody that I worked with Kendrick Lamar any day. I would choose being the artist I'm proud of any day 1,000 times over. It's so much more valuable, and it is so much. I don't want to be famous. I want to be an artist. That's what my driving force is. So at the end of the day, it was a very necessary shift in my career.
When you get dropped from a label, it just boils down to album sales and how much money you generate for the label. You don't have to, but you were a little bit disappointed, maybe even a little bit heartbroken. But if you never got dropped and you stayed on that label, I'm sure you wouldn't have been hunting for reasons why you weren't good enough or blaming yourself for what happened or finally finding your artistry. I mean, why question your artistry at all when at the end of the day, it's just a business decision?
That's a really good point. I think that's why I feel like it's a blessing, because I could have totally just stayed in that universe and continued to sing the shit out of stuff that didn't feel right. And that's a lonely place to be. I can only imagine who I would have turned into. It actually kind of scares me to think of who I would have turned into if that had worked out, frankly. I can't imagine not having these songs that I have and this artistry that I have now. Because you're right. They're thinking about it from the perspective of money. And that was never what got me into the music industry. That has nothing to do. I mean, of course, I want to be successful and make money, but that's not what pulled me in here in the first place. And I actually believe that financial success is more likely when you're really doing something that you really can get behind, and I can really get behind my music now in a different way. And I just really believe in it more even than I believe in the narrative of like Adam Levine's first artist. I believe in my music more than I believe in that.
Yeah, I think an example that comes to mind is Katy Perry, because I remember her debut album was under her real name. She was active in the church. And she got dropped from her label. Right. Her album flopped. And then she hooked up with Dr. Luke, changed her name, and released a song called I Kissed a Girl. And now she's worth, $300 million. But that's not the route you want to go. Like, I'm not saying Katy Perry is probably lonely. Maybe that's the artist that she wants to be, but that's just not the route that you wanted to go.
Yeah.
It's like, right. Like, would Best Friend or would the Best Friend song be any better or worse of a song if Toddy didn't exist? I don't know, but you want to go the authentic route.
Yeah, there's no way I could have written that song without my best friend being a real best friend. I mean, I write about my life, so I need it to be real.
Ooh, I'd love to hear a song about Tony, the mysterious 14-year-old Italian guitarist who loved you and you crushed his heart in 7th grade and dumped him.
Wait, oh my God. Tony, how did you find out about Tony? Where did you find that information? Wait. Is that his name? Oh my God, you just sent me into a wild flashback from this camp I went to when I was in middle school. Yeah, I remember he said, "Is it fruity if I ask to put my arm around you?" Is that that sentence is ingrained in my mind. I think that's like probably not an okay sentence, honestly.
Oh no. I got Tony's back. He was nervous. He had a crush. He was in love with you, so he's going to say dumb things. Tony, I got you. I got your back. But it's funny though, because I think you touched on this, because Adam Levine created the label in part. I think I read this correctly, which is a pretty big honor. He was only going to create the label if you signed to it, and he's a lot of things, but a veteran label owner and accomplished businessman, not so much. So, do you ever think that maybe he mismanaged you, maybe he mishandled you, or he dropped the ball, or maybe you shouldn't have looked at yourself like you were to blame? And it's not like there's any current megastars signed to that label right now. I mean, I think his label's kind of dormant.
I think there's a lot of ways that could have gone better for everybody. I really needed real development. I wasn't yet the artist that I think he really knew that I could be. And I always, appreciate him seeing that in me. Because, a lot of people didn't see that in me. I knew what I wanted to be since I was 6 years old. And most people were like, you probably won't be that. And Adam was like, yeah, I think you will. And I will, I'll always appreciate that. But I needed a certain amount of real development, which is really like helping bring, I think people think sometimes that an artist is they're just born that way, and you're born with something. And some people, seem to find it a lot faster. I think Billie Eilish blows my mind. I mean, clearly talk about somebody who was raised by artists and clearly was like, the creativity was really fostered in her home. So I think maybe that helps bring it out so young, but that's an anomaly. I think there's a false idea that an artist just is an artist and they just come out with this genius just flying out of their mouth. I mean, yes, there is there are geniuses, but art, like anything, needs to be cultivated and developed and taken care of, and it's a muscle. And I write better songs when I'm writing songs all the time. I sing better when I'm singing all the time. Like it is a muscle, and you do need to work at it. And I think I wasn't really ready yet for that opportunity, at least not for what Adam was able to give me at that time in his career.
So the songs that you couldn't have written on Adam's label and the songs that reflect you more as a person, you're making it seem like it came naturally. But when it comes time to share that music, were you scared because now you're a little bit vulnerable that you're sharing these authentic songs with the public?
Yes, very much. When I write songs, I try to pretend as if no one will ever hear them, because I write very personal songs and I say things I would never say in my life. But by the time they come out, sometimes I get very anxious about it because I feel very exposed. But the truth is, all my heroes do that. I mean, Stevie Nicks was writing songs about like her Lindsey Buckingham, and he was playing guitar. I can't even imagine what it was like to play the song she wrote about him for him, in front of him before the world. I just think if she could do that, then I can release these songs about my, mystery ex-boyfriend that nobody even knows who it is. It's fine. I can handle it.
I want to communicate again. I'm normally a hip hop guy. I wouldn't say I do listen to some neo soul. I listen to some R&B. I was literally blown away, and I had to have you on here, but I don't want it to come from me. I wanted to give you the floor to tell people about Hymn for Tomorrow, what people should know about it. You have the floor.
Hymn for Tomorrow is basically part 1 of my full-length album. So we're releasing it in pieces. And this is the first 7 songs that I'm sharing. So the best way I can describe it is that it's like a very personal, very soulful, very raw look at like my last few years. It kind of feels like, strangely, it feels like my introduction to the world. Like we've heard on this podcast, I've had a long journey. I was a background singer even before I was signed. And then I've had a lot of ups and downs. And yet somehow I feel very much like I just began, and that all of that stuff was kind of like the process to like almost like have me arrive. And I feel like this record is me kind of arriving, and it kind of feels like a bit of a coming of age. Like it's just kind of me really finally saying this is who I am. And through that is a lot of heartbreak. You'll hear a lot of moody songs on there. I've dated some losers and I talked about it. And it all kind of culminates in a certain Hymn for Tomorrow, which is one of the last songs on the record. And it's like kind of through all this struggle, all this pain, all these ups and downs, really trying to convince myself that my better days are ahead, and that all of our better days are ahead, and that all this, like, the pain that we go through and as humans makes us better and makes us more interesting and makes us stronger and makes us funnier and makes us better friends and makes us better partners and all of that. And that the future will be better because of that struggle.
Don't know how it happened, but I guess the summer's over. Yeah, it's 80 in LA, but you feel a little colder. Try to be a real cool girl and laugh it off like nothing hurts, but I already miss you when my head is on your shoulder.
I love it. And not to take the spotlight away from this new album, but Bear Attack, I hope you get back together. And I hope there's a Hot Sizzling Sisters reunion on the horizon too.
Oh my God, you and this research, I can't handle it.
All right, I'm done giving you a hard time. Rozzi, it was an absolute pleasure having you here, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. That was really fun.